Good afternoon, everyone. I am Monica Sharma from Grand Challenges India, and I welcome you all to this webinar. So uh, we'll begin shortly. Please do let me know if I am audible. If you are experiencing any problem, in audio or video, please do let us know in the chat. I hope my screen is visible to you. Yeah. Thank you so much. I can see in the chat some thumbs up, and I am audible and presentation is visible. So just few announcements before I begin. So if you are experiencing any difficulty in audio or visual, please do leave a comment. Otherwise, if you have any questions related to the RFP or like you want to ask any questions, you can post your questions in the chat. We will take questions after we finish our presentation. So I'll start with welcoming you all. A very good afternoon, a good day to you all, wherever you are joining. So today's webinar is on the Grand Challenges India's request for proposal on breakthrough solutions and cost disruptive innovations for screening and diagnosis. So I'm Senior Program Manager with Grand Challenges India, and I lead programs of infectious disease and public health vertical. So next slide, please. So in today's webinar, I'll just briefly give you an overview that what we are going to cover. First, I will be talking about Grand Challenges India and BIRAC. You will be hearing more about both of these organizations, and then the today's challenge, why this RFP was launched under Grand Challenges India, and what is context to the cost disruptive diagnostics and breakthrough solutions. Then the RFP priority areas which are the main focus of this RFP and for today's webinar. Then I will be explaining what we are looking for through this RFP, what are the funding levels and eligibility requirements, and who can apply, how you can apply, and then this will be followed by question and answer. During my presentation, I'll try to address as much as queries which you may have. So next slide, please. Yeah. So first talking about Grand Challenges India. Grand Challenges India is a joint partnership established in 2012 between Department of Biotechnology, Government of India and Gates Foundation, and we are housed at BIRAC. So if you can see in the presentation, Grand Challenges India focused on critical health and developmental issues specific to India and which have its global applicability. So for this, we have various kind of programs. And if you can see to the right-hand side, I have put up the main thematic areas and the key areas where Grand Challenges India work. First is women in child health, then infectious diseases and public health, capacity building and leadership. WASH is another area where Grand Challenges India actively works. Then we have few programs in AI and data science and agriculture and nutrition. So in all these domains, Grand Challenges focus on innovations and solutions. And we do this with the support of BIRAC to deliver the critical and high impact research and innovations. So our strength is partnership, funding, mentorship, and the deployment of the innovations and solution for the need in India and beyond. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if I talk about the mission of Grand Challenges India, so we foster innovation and research to develop affordable and sustainable solutions for India and beyond. So we support research, development, and demonstration to catalyze knowledge and innovation creation, and then focus on the translation as well. We align our programs with the government initiatives like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, National Immunization Program, tuberculosis program, and like Digital India, Startup India, and the Innovate India. We fund basic and translational research where we see there are unmet needs and which require the intervention. And our solutions are focused for India and for the world, especially for the low and middle income countries. We engage with different stakeholders to leverage the experience and expertise to deliver the scientific and technical research. So these are the few key highlights I put up, which has come out from the Grand Challenges India, which you must have encountered at one or another platform. So this is just a glimpse of what we do. Next slide, please. So here I want to highlight that Grand Challenges India, we are formed with the partnership of Gates Foundation and the Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India at BIRAC. But we are a family of global Grand Challenges, where you can see we were incepted in 2012, and the global Grand Challenges came into being in 2003, and then various countries, they formed their Grand Challenges, and they have been part of this network. So Grand Challenges offer a global network of dedicated partners, and it is a growing community that supports innovation and partnership to advance global health and to deliver solutions in India and beyond. So here I would like to talk about BIRAC. You must be aware of about Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, which is a public sector enterprise of Department of Biotechnology and focuses on nurturing innovations from ideation to commercialization in the biotechnology sector. As in the last decade, we have seen that in the biotech sectors, it requires the very heavy investment, high risk involved. The period is for the innovations or the solution, it involves long gestation, and if successful, it also delivers the high rewards. So BIRAC is a central agency which empowers, enables, and accelerates biotech innovation ecosystem in India. It's a Section 8 not-for-profit central public sector enterprise under Department of Biotechnology, as I said a few minutes earlier. And BIRAC supports startups, entrepreneurs, academia, medium and large-scale companies for high-risk innovations and solutions to develop affordable solutions and products to address the unmet needs in India. So you can read more about BIRAC. You can visit BIRAC website. This shows what is the focus, vision, and mission of BIRAC and how it is delivering in the space of biotechnology and how it has nurtured a very well-grown ecosystem for biotechnology sectors. Next slide, please. So many of you must be aware about the BIRAC schemes and initiatives. Like there are in BIRAC incubation centers, there are more than 100 incubation centers which involve BioNest and EUVA centers. There is early stage fundings, the funding for the late stage validation and commercialization support, as well as the networking and the monitoring, where there are some niche area programs like for antimicrobial resistance, for the COVID, and like in sectors like agriculture and the synthetic biology as well. And BIRAC has its mission program where Grand Challenges India comes along with other mission programs, and it partners with various government agencies and stakeholders to deliver the high impact initiatives. So I have just highlighted the BIRAC innovation pipelines. You can see the very famous big scheme of BIRAC, and then the product development through SBRI, BIPP, and then there is PACE, and for the commercialization, PCP, and the equity funds like Seed and LEAP. And recently, BIRAC has also, launched the Bio E3 policy and the biomanufacturing initiatives, which are actively going on. And BIRAC is also a second stage funder for the Research Development and Innovation, or RDI fund, as it is known. So you can explore all these opportunities on BIRAC websites. Next slide, please. So this is just a glimpse how BIRAC has been empowering the biotech innovation ecosystem in India. Next slide, please. So yeah, I'll come to the today's topic, the challenge for which you all have come together, and I thank you all very much for registering for this webinar and showing your interest in giving your time to us. So first of all, why the cost disruptive innovations and breakthrough solutions are required. Next slide, please. Yeah. So through this request for proposal, we are trying to seek the solutions which are fundamentally disruptive in design and which just not offer incremental, adaptation or gains over existing platforms. So why do we thought that there is a need for this particular RFP seeking breakthrough solutions and cost disruptive innovations for screening and diagnosis? As you all are aware, that there are persistent gap in accurate and early detection, and this gap is most felt in the point of care and the peripheral centers or the peripheral healthcare facilities. Though there are rapid technological advancements, but the high cost associated with these advanced tools and diagnostic platforms limits their use to the tertiary care centers. However, in India, which is such a diverse country with a tiered healthcare system, the centralized infrastructure, trained personnel, and the reliable supply chain, these cannot be made accessible to all the last mile of the healthcare system, which constrains their scalability and accessibility. And in resource limiting setting like peripheral clinics or community settings, the screening and diagnosis tools are most required, but they remain underserved. So that's why Grand Challenges India BIRAC floated this cost disruptive solution RFP for point of care or near patient for tools with which require minimal infrastructure requirement to improve accessibility and affordability. Yeah. So you must have seen this flyer, which we have put up on various social media channels of BIRAC and other platforms. So the breakthrough solutions and cost disruptive innovations for screening and diagnosis invites bold and transformative ideas, high risk, high reward innovations, which can really rethink and redefine, reimagine the diagnosis and the screening landscape in four priority areas: tuberculosis, emerging pathogens, syndromic testing, panels, and enteric pathogens. So this call was open on 12th May of 2026, and the call will close on 1st of July 2026. So here are some key timelines and key dates. Right now, the most important one is when the proposal submission timeline closes, that is 1st of July. Next slide, please. So these are the few gap areas and what is required, why this RFP was needed, and where your role comes into play. Because the disease burden is rising with the ongoing various turbulence, and the landscape of diagnosis and the screening. We see there is increasing prevalence of infectious diseases, antimicrobial resistance, and other infectious conditions, and which require the frequent outbreak, require the rapid detection, and which should be accurate as well as fast, so that they can support the clinical decision and as well as can support the surveillance platforms as well. And there is a growing healthcare demand in both urban and rural populations. Second priority is the delayed diagnosis leads to poor outcome, which results in other complications, and many patients are diagnosed at advanced disease stages, which also contribute to the morbidity and the mortality, and also increase the treatment cost and can delay the accurate treatments for certain individuals. So early diagnosis enables timely interventions and better prognosis. Third need is the third, or I can say third gap is high cost of existing diagnostic technology, which I have mentioned earlier. Like these are too expensive or require the consumables or instruments or training or the reagents, which are associated with a high cost, and the peripheral settings cannot take true advantage of these diagnostic or the screening technologies. So this makes them their affordability very limited in low income populations or in the peripheral settings of the public health systems. So this RFP particularly aims to improve the access in the resource constrained settings in the remote and the rural areas where the advanced laboratory settings are not there, or their deployment is restricted due to infrastructure constraints, or there is a shortage of trained personnel or the specialized equipment. So it shows that there is a need for the decentralized and point of care testing solutions. The fifth one is the need for rapid and accurate results. So where the current testing workflows can take hours today, just for like in case of typhoid, the blood test culture report takes sometimes days to come back, and till that time, the clinician or the treating physician prescribes the antibiotic based on the symptoms and not on the accurate blood culture report. So there are these fast, test or the accurate results in the rapid manner. They can really help. So faster diagnostics supports immediate clinical decision makings, and these are very much essential for the outbreak control and the emergency response. So here is the cost disruptive innovation opportunity for innovators like you who can offer the affordable technologies to expand testing coverage, like for the tuberculosis, where the India has already exceeded its ambitious goal to eliminate tuberculosis from the country. And we see that though the case detection is declining for the tuberculosis, but still we are far from eliminating the TB and identifying the people with the TB. So reduction in per test cost also improve the accessibility in the healthcare, and it also enables a large scale and population screening and surveillance. Next slide, please. So as the RFP is breakthrough solutions and cost disruptive innovation, so I would like to take a moment to explain what is the cost disruptive in diagnosis and screening. So these tests are, if we can say, target for 100 rupees per test, which includes all the consumable cost. So it should be on a durable platform that drives near zero marginal cost at high volume. And it is a very important attribute to this RFP. They should be deployable at or near point of care, should involve minimal disposable and designed for high throughput so that they can be scaled up when required. And here it is very important to understand what is the 100 rupees cost. For screening applications, the cost should be interpreted as per person screened, and for the diagnostic or the monitoring application, it is considered as per test performed. So here I have put two graphics for better understanding that how cost per test goes down when we go for the durable devices or the 100 rupees, or we can say $1 class diagnostics, and when we move up at the population scale. And if you see the cost structure shift, it shows that marginal costs approaches to zero when the scale is increased and as the devices are placed at upfront, and then the later on, as the screening and the testing goes up, the consumable or the test per test cost goes down. Next slide, please. So through this challenge, we aim to source cost disruptive innovations or $1 class or 100 rupees diagnostics for priority condition, which are mentioned in our priority focus areas. You can refer the RFP for those. And this aims to build a stage portfolio from early concept to scale solutions using milestone-based awards aligned to the technology readiness level. And this you can see in the RFP, there are two categories for the award for the funding levels. And these solutions can only be achieved if it involves a cross-sector platform and the multidisciplinary approach, so that it can also advance the platforms and the multimodal solutions to enable scalable screening and the same visit decision makings. So here you can see what are cost disruptive and what are not disruptive. So near zero incremental cost to the test is cost disruptive, which involve durable devices having minimal consumable cost, can provide high throughput and has a clear pathway to scale. But if a solution or an innovation which only provide minimal incremental savings or involves the recurring consumables which are involved in high cost or dependent in the infrastructures, and there is no credible pathway for skill, then those solutions do not fall under the category of disruptive solutions. Next slide, please. So now I'm coming to the RFP priority areas. So as you must have seen in RFP for the grand challenges, India RFP on breakthrough solutions and this innovations, there are four priority areas. One is the tuberculosis, and second one is the emerging pathogens, and third is the syndromic panels or syndromic testing, as you can say. And fourth one is the enteric infection. So all these four priorities are very much important in Indian context. If you see the disease burden, if you see the people get affected by these infectious conditions and how much they contribute to the misuse of the antimicrobials, leading to the antimicrobial resistance, and also lead to the inappropriate treatments and the inaccurate diagnosis. So I'll come one by one to each priority, but to just brief this, in tuberculosis, the main target is the community screening, and we are targeting the non-sputum and AI-enabled solutions. For the emerging pathogens, they should support the surveillance integrations, and they should be modular so that they can be readily adapted if there is a need to cater, and there is some emerging priority which is seen in Indian context. For the syndromic panels, the acute febrile illnesses, the respiratory illnesses, or the co-infections which drive antimicrobial resistance, and the inappropriate treatment of the patient, these are the main targets for the syndromic testing. For the enteric infections, we see that the typhoid, the diarrheal pathogens, as you must be witnessing these days, the Shigella outbreak in the state of Kerala. So we have elaborated all the the priority conditions in the RFP itself, and we are seeking the solution for these particular four priority areas. So next slide, please. So coming to the first priority, which is tuberculosis, I am not going to go into the disease burden and all the statistics. So here we are targeting, for India, the latent TB, which is not diagnosis, or the asymptomatic subclinical TB is a huge problem, which keeps on getting detected after some time in the form of active TB cases. So we need to go beyond that, as if we want to achieve the national target of TB elimination in India. So we are targeting the community solutions for community and primary care, which should be system agnostic screening tools, and non-sputum approaches are most welcomed, as we can see that in pediatric population, it is very difficult to get the sputum samples, and like for the detecting TB in pediatric population is another challenge. Then true point of care test aligned with the WHO TPPs or the National Tuberculosis Program of India, which is catering to their requirements, will be considered under this priority area. The easy to gain samples formats which are compatible with the population scale deployment, they are the focus under this area, and the AI enabled or multimodal platforms which can reimagine the or which can improve the existing diagnosis or the screening platforms are the priority, are the focus area under this particular infectious disease priority. Next slide, please. So here I have put a few examples, like if for say TB background emphasize system agnostic population screening and near patient diagnosis aligned to WHO TPPs or NTPE in case of India. So latent TB is not mentioned in those lists as a separate priority, but if you have some solution or innovation which provide a credible map to the screening or the diagnostic pathway for the TB, for the latent TB in population, these proposals will be considered under this priority. Pediatric TB, which I have mentioned, the existing gaps, and those sort of proposals are also welcomed under this RFP. And I request all of you who are working in the space of TB, please go through the TB national guidelines and the NTP requirements as per the programmatic rationale to align your proposals so that they are easily adaptable as if they are considered under for the funding at the later stages. The second example I have put up for the biomarkers, like we have seen in case of urine biomarkers or something like that, in case of DBT for the in case of tuberculosis. So the technology we have mentioned, the platform should be technology agnostics. So traditional biomarker based assays, non-traditional sensor software or AI approaches, which can transform and practical for the deployment in India and other LMICs and have a credible technical and cost pathway, those proposals are do fall under the purview of this RFP. But the proposals which involve such as biomarkers or other analytes, they should provide the information or preliminary information or data analytical of their clinical performance and how they envisage going up to the in the manufacturing ladder and how what is their risk assessments or the alternate pathways for such proposals. Yeah, next please. So these are the priority areas 2, 3, and 4, emerging pathogens, syndromic panels, and enteric pathogens. You can find all this information in the RFP as well, where we have explicitly mentioned, like for the emerging pathogens, we are seeking the solutions which can be reconfigured easily and rapidly, and they have an open platform, so which gives them flexibility and the new analytes can be added to them so that there is no need to redesign them fully. Then the syndromic panels, as I have mentioned earlier, the co-infection detection, the upper respiratory, we are not going to the lower respiratory pathogens, so because these drive the high burden of respiratory illnesses and as well as for the AMR. So high order multiplexing, I have just put one example for the targets. And for this, I request to go and see the national guidelines coming from the DBT or the ICMRs. If you see the website of these national bodies, they have put up the list of priority pathogens and for all the syndromes which are relevant to India. The WHO put up the list for globally, and but the list coming from the ICMR or like DBT, they are based on the data which is coming out of the India, from the India and the surveillance networks which are working, which are operational under DBT or ICMR. And for the enteric infections like the pediatric diarrhea, how the solutions which can differentiate the typhoid and the paratyphoid, then bacterial and viral diarrhea, and in case of the pediatric diarrhea, we can quantitate the multi-target panels. So again, I have a request that you go and see the guidelines, the guidance documents, or the pathogens which are listed by the national bodies. Next slide, please. So here also I have put few examples like what sort of proposals fall purview on this RFP. Like in case of pneumonia, so syndromic and respiratory multiplex approaches under emerging pathogens and syndromic testing. A childhood pneumonia solution framed as a field usable respiratory syndrome panel or rapid triage tool would align with the RFP. Whereas a general pneumonia program that will not fall under the purview of this RFP. So here I have listed where you can refer the guidelines, and same the diagnostic, like in case the skin infection diagnostic, those do not fall under the scope of this RFP, but if they comes as a part of a multi-disease syndromic platform-based approach that improve the surveillance or the triage at the peripheral setting, then they do fall under the purview of this RFP. So multiplex, adjacent conditions, multi-disease platforms are encouraged, and the broader format that improves the cost dynamics, they are also welcomed under this proposal, and they should be supported with the credible evidence. AI-enabled software approaches are within the scope if they really disrupt the performance and the cost structure and the deployment of the priority of interest. In this case, the 4 priorities under this RFP. Next slide, please. So this is a very important slide because this defines the funding level and how we are going to consider the proposal which are coming through the BIRAC portal. So we encourage proposals should not be in the ideation stage. At least there should be some preliminary work that should be supporting the proposal, like for the TRL2 and TRL4. A clear technical hypothesis should be there. Framework for the feasible prototype should be there, and what pathway it is going to take and how it is targeting the cost should be delineated in the proposal. Then there is a late TRL4 and 6 proposal which are targeting solutions and innovations for TRL4 and 6. So there we expect a functional prototype, initial performance data, and clear paths to priority use adaptation. And like for the later stages, the TRL6 and TRL7-8, the expected endpoint is near final system adapted to priority use case, and it should be ready for validation and market uptake. So we are looking for the solution in this category, which are ready to go for field studies or the validation studies. So there, a clear validation pathway should be provided in the proposal. And if your solution or your proposal, you think that it's not defined in the TRL categories of this table, you can visit the BIREC TRL through this link which is provided there. And here I have put example for devices and diagnostics or AI, etc. There are different sort of categories in the BIREC TRLs. You can refer those TRLs. Plus, but I have a request. Please do mention which TRL, the source of TRL which you are referring, either from RFP, or if that is not applicable to your solution, then under which category you are using from the BIRAC TRLs. So at Grand Challenges India, we strongly encourages collaborations, and we value the collaborations across the diverse discipline. And this is also very much critical for this particular challenge, which it's because it targets the high risk solutions and innovations. And but in collaborations, the lead investigator should be Indian national who is working within the country, and in an established institute or organization or a company as per the criteria which is mentioned in RFP. Global partners or investigators or collaborators may be included, but but the funding will be only given to the Indian organizations or the Indian investigators, whereas the global partners or collaborators can involve in the technical aspects. And if you feel that you need to involve the experts of the relevant discipline, they can be included as mentor as well. So under this RFP, what our target is, what we are exactly looking, the rapid results, fast turnaround. If a patient visit a physician or a clinic or a testing laboratory, then a single visit should provide the result for that particular screening or the test. So those sort of proposal solutions and innovations we are looking for. The solution should be provide ease of use, involves minimum personal training. They should be robust, able to function in low resource settings, and with the limited infrastructure. They should be free from the cold chain or dependent on supply chain requirements. The solution should target for low consumable, because this adds to the cost, and our main target in this to reduce the cost so that they can really disrupt the the cost landscape of diagnosis and screening. The cost, there should be a clear pathway for the cost demonstration. This should be, there is a, you will find a particular table for putting this information, and they should be transformative in nature. And I have listed that novel sensing, multiplexing, novel architectures such as multimodal sensing, high order multiplexing, software defined diagnostic or AI enabled interpretations, or software only approaches, or the improvements of the existing diagnostics, or even the new innovations which include all these features are within the scope of RFP. So this you can find in the request for proposal. This is the earlier slide only explains this particular table, so I have simplified that. Please go through this while you are preparing your proposal. Yeah. So here I want to mention proposal which will not be considered are only implementation, procurement, or rollout projects. which do not involve research and development. The field studies or the field validations are most welcome, but they should not be implementation sort of study of already available innovation or solution. The discovery only biomarker projects which have no deployable prototype or which cannot be developed, they will not be considered within the grant. Incremental modification into the cost curve, they will not be considered if they do not have a clear step change in cost or scalability, and they do not do not contribute significantly to the existing screening and diagnostic landscape. The budget which are being proposed by the investigator should correspond to the TRL levels and the feasibility evidence. The solution which have no credible pathway or no plausible pathway to meet and cost and operational constraints will not be considered if the evidence is not provided in the submitted proposals. And the applicant which are not willing to share prototypes or other information required by BIRAC when the proposal is under review, then those sort of proposal will also not be able to progress in the selection or in compete while under review. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the funding and eligibility. This is, you can see in the RFP as well, there are two types of grants. First is exploratory and the second one is solution and product oriented. So first one is 50 lakh rupees and the second one is 2 crores. And for 50 lakhs, the term can be up to 12 months. For the grant up to 2 crores, the term can be up to 18 months. And you can see for the first exploratory grants, proof of concept, functional prototype, and lab data, these sort of solutions we will consider. Whereas for the solution product oriented, where the product or solution is at TRL 4 or above, we aim to take these sort of proposal up to the commercialization or the validation or market ready stage. Here, I would especially like to emphasize that project proposal budgeted over 50 lakh rupees and coming from the private organization will include co-funding of 30% of total project cost. And you can reach out to us if you have specific question. You can post your questions in the chat box as well. Private universities, NGOs, trusts, and foundations are encouraged to share 25% of the total project cost. So this under this, the budget will, you can see when you will be filling the proposal in BIRAC portal, the non-recurring head and the recurring cost. So please go through the RFP to see what sort of details you need to provide. Yeah. So who can apply for this? The academic and the research institutes, companies, startup, NGOs, foundations, government agencies, and research organizations are eligible. But I request you that the companies should have minimum 51% of the shareholding should be held by the Indian citizens, and same goes for the LLPs and the societies and the trusts. So these are the key dates and timelines and a layout how the funds will be dispersed for the 12 months and 18 months projects. So here I have laid out that what you should have before you proceed to BIRAC portal for submitting your proposals. You should have the clear idea what funding level you are targeting, duration, what is your technology readiness level of your solution or innovation, and what you are targeting through this grant. What is the scope of work, problem statement, and your preliminary work and the relevant data should be with you so that you can provide that information to support your proposal. The key output indicator and milestone should be outlined in the proposal along with the budget. The PIs, co-PIs, collaborators, CVs would be required and the format is available in the BIRAC portal. You need to have a risk assessment and alternate plan for each milestone and your objectives. And the team, what is their expertise, what are their clearly defined roles and responsibilities should be clear before you proceed to the submission of proposal. So this is, I have just put over this particular slide to show what information would be required when you are heading to submit your proposal. So this is also mentioned in the RFP under the rules and guidelines. Please do read this. So how to apply? The application submitted through the online portal will be considered only. No offline submission will be considered. And for this, as I mentioned in earlier two slides, prepare your proposal beforehand, before logging into the BIRAC portal. If you are coming to the BIRAC portal for the first time, please do register. If you have a login ID, please log into the call for proposal and under current calls. And next, I'm going to show how what sort of proposal is going to look like. Next slide, please. So this is the first where you land on the BIRAC portal, this flyer, and you see the click here to register and apply and view RFP. So you need to click on the click here to register and apply. This is some sort your login or registration window is going to look like. Next slide, please. So then this window will open where you can see Grant Challenges India GCI call, and you need to click on the open. Then the next window to the right hand side, this will pop up, and you need to go with the proposal submission, and you need to submit different proposal if you are submitting under different categories or different criteria. Yeah, next slide, please. So here are a few important notes. Please do not wait for the last day submission, because the application is quite comprehensive and you may need to provide lots of information regarding to your proposal, and preparing your proposal on last day may not be suffice. The online system will not accept the application after 2 p.m. on 1st of July. No offline submission will be entertained, and they will not be considered for screening and review, even if received by email. No request for changes in the proposal will be entertained until the review process. And applicants should submit different applications for different criteria. And please do familiarize yourself with the requisites and submit early to avoid last minute issues. And I just want to mention here, if you have submitted application earlier to our Global Grant Challenges partner early this year, those applications are not transferable, and you are interested in Grant Challenges India's call, you need to submit a fresh application through BIRAC portal to Grant Challenges India. So these are a few important points which you can see. Like, we strongly encourage the industry academia collaborations, women-led organizations and proposals, and multidisciplinary collaborations to achieve the high impact under this RFP. Next slide, please. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please do head to the chat box to put up your questions. And I request you to please post your question relevant to this call. I will not be taking up the questions which are being posted for other schemes. You can directly reach out to BIRAC for that. So I see a question from Amita Gupta. If a prototype is made ready during the course of the project, will BIRAC help with clinical samples for the validation and linkage with industry for commercialization? So yes, if a prototype is being developed within the grant period, yes, BIRAC will help the grantee to take it to the next step by linking it to the potential partners, whether it's clinical or industrial. So Grant Challenges India will provide that sort of handholding. So here is another question from Sanana. If the cost of the multiplex test exceed $1, would it be eligible for this application? So ideally, we are targeting for the, I will talk in the Indian National Rupees, Indian National Rupees 100. But if the cost, as you know, for cost disruptive innovations, we do not have, a lot of solutions which are available. But if we prepare solutions, and maybe there are, as we progress with the grant cycle, and we can, find out the ways to lower the cost, because as we see, if we go for the, the mass screening, and we go to the deployment at the larger scale, the costs do come down. But yes, the cost can vary little bit up and down, but it should not be too much. It should not be like that. It is just near to or just few rupees lesser than the existing, the available solutions or the diagnostics. So there is another question from PSK. In the what we are looking slide, should our solution fulfill all the criteria? Is the exploratory funds a grant? And third question, would a major hospital be considered as an academic partner? So coming to your first question, should our solution fulfill all the criteria? So ideally, it should, but if your solution is giving fast turnaround time and really disrupting the cost scale and have a credible pathway for the scaler, it's eligible. And the second is the exploratory fund is a grant. Yes, it is a grant. The would a major hospital be considered as academic partner? Yes, it will be considered as an academic partner. So there is another question from Vignesh. Please highlight about the funding sharing by government institute such as ICMR Institute, which will be 100% funded. So the funding sharing is only for the private companies or the private institutes or the private universities and NGOs. The government institutes such as in this case ICMR Institute, no funding sharing will be asked. They will be this will be in a grant format and 100% funding will be from the Grant Challenges India. So there is another question from Chirag. For a platform which sits at the intersection of clinical workflow intelligence, health data structuring, and disease surveillance, would Virec view the primary value proposition as digital health, public health innovation, or healthcare AI infrastructure? So in this, as it says, clinical workflow intelligence, so it will fall under the healthcare AI. And I would not specifically link it to the infrastructure, but healthcare AI solutions. Definitely, it will fall under that category. Second one is the for software-led healthcare innovation. How important is institutional validation at the application stage versus having a strong validation roadmap and identify academic and public health partners? This is a very interesting and very important question for the software-led healthcare innovations. The validation is very much important, as we know the people who are working in this space, they are struggling with the data sets and the continuous availability of the patient data to validate their the innovation or the solution. So here the institutional validation is also very much important, and even if you have a very testing done in very lesser sample size, you should consider of submitting a proposal, and then during the grant phase the larger validation can be established. And as I have mentioned in my presentation, that even after the grant cycle, the potential solutions and the innovations can be taken up forward. And here I also would like to emphasize that in this question, it was mentioned identifying the academic and the public health partners. So if we see there are potential partners coming under this RFP in the form of different applicants, we try to connect them and build collaborations so that we can have the high impact innovations and solutions which actually solving the problem. So here is another interesting question. What is the single most common reason promising healthcare proposal do not make it through the final evaluation? So I just want to highlight that BIREC has a very transparent review system. So we have 3-tiered review system. First, when you submit your proposals, we screen all the proposal for the eligibility as per the RFP, where we see the company should have 51% shareholding patterns from held by Indian National. Then we go for the review, which are evaluated by the independent evaluators. Then the proposals we take a cut off for these proposal, or based on the number of submissions we get, and we include all the potential applicants, and then we give the chance to the principal investigators and their teams to explain their proposal, and you can directly interact with our review committees when you are called for the presentation, and we also communicate what are the whatever observations of the review committee is there, so that you will know why your proposal did not make to the final evaluation. So here is another question from Vishal, that whether it covers medical microbiology or related disciplines such as veterinary or animal sciences. So I would say the emerging pathogen category involves for this, but this is mainly focused on the human health only. So there's another question, where will there be an extension of the duration of the project provided, or a no cost extension? So this is a question which we are very much flexible. If the proposed project, if your project is considered and funded and it is delivering, then these sort of requests can be accommodated based on the situation that has been presented and the milestone evaluation. So that's not at all a problem. There is another question, will there be a continued round 2 funding following this grant, like from proof of concept in round 1 and manufacturing in round 2? So in Grant Challenges India, we do explore the opportunities from our ongoing programs and the ongoing proposals. If they have potential, we do explore the opportunities and try to handhold them and take them forward. I need to access the questions from their laptop. Chat, please. So I think I can take yes. This is the. Can we apply for a grant related to other healthcare sector like cancer diagnosis or cardiac disease? So I'm really sorry. In this, we are only targeting 4 infectious disease areas. So we are not be considering these conditions. Can we apply grant related to women-related healthcare problems? So as you can see, the priority areas, if it is you are want to focus your solution particularly to women, you are most welcome to submit the proposal, but it should only to be the four priority areas mentioned in the RFP. We are importing rapid diagnostics for fungal infections from the US, and what to co-develop the same with Pilani to reduce cost with CE approval will be the considered under this call. So this is what I was saying, that only implementation, what we will not be considering. It should involve R&D or efforts to develop specific solutions for India. And my email ID is mentioned in the RFP. You can see for the technical queries, I have also mentioned the email ID of our team member is there specifically for portal related queries, and for technical queries, there are 2 email IDs. You can write to us using those. Those are mentioned on the last page of RFP. Will a spot test for detection for different serotype of dengue as a cost-effective simple test will fall under this call? Yes, it will fall, but you need to make sure that it has a pathway for scale and it really adds to the existing value and disrupt the cost landscape. So I think I have covered maximum questions. So we have remaining 5 minutes. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Okay. If the reagents that were developed into a kit earlier are now being improved for sensitivity of detection and including more reagents, will it be considered for TRL 6 onwards or TRL 4 onwards? So this is a very specific question. This definitely falls under the scope of RFP if you are giving an improvement of your existing kit and you want to know the TRL 4, I would say that as you are improving this, so it will fall under TRL 4 because you need to really generate some data. You are adapting it to some other condition. So maybe during the grant cycle, it can move upward to the TRL 6 level. So last 2 minutes, if any more questions are there, I would be happy to take your questions. And I request if you have your proposal or applications to submit, please submit it through BIREC online portal and do it before or 1st of July and at the specified time. So the last question on telepathy solutions, TRL 3 certified proposal will be considered. So I am not sure about the priority area or the focus area which is being targeted and the what are the available data or the preliminary work done for that and how this is already being used at in the Indian public health system landscape. I'm not sure of that for this particular pathology solution, but if you have more information, then it is relevant to the priority areas, we will consider the proposal. So I thank you all for your time and registering for this webinar. If you have any questions, please see the RFP or the flyers available at BIREC websites. You can find our email IDs at the end of RFP and you can share your questions and write to us. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.